This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Back in the studio in Sterling Heights for episode 52 of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. It is nice to be back here in the warm confines of the studio alongside the Doc, John Macaroon from Doc and Jock. Doc, how's it going today?
I am Smack Talker Skywalker, and I got a mic saber for a hater.
Vito, it's great to check in with you. Great to see you, man. It's been a minute. I'm glad to be talking baseball with you. Lots to talk about on this edition of Tigers Talk. What do you got for me? What are we going to talk about today?
Well, you know what? We have a lot of recapping and looking ahead to what these injuries to Nick Castellanos, what will that do to the Tigers going forward? Jordan Zimmerman, what will that DL stint for Zimmerman? Now, another one had to happen. Bad timing for Zim and the Tigers. They're on the verge of competing for something at this point. Finally, it took all this time this season, right, for them to get into form, and now they are into form for the stretch run. But they won't have Jordan Zimmerman for it. That's a big loss, Doc. Something I wanted to talk about with Aaron McMahon today from M Live. Now, Aaron won't be able to join us, but I do have another guest in line who will be joining us, who owns now Crepe de Trois. Crepe de Trois, okay, I guess is how you can say it in the most English form possible. And he's selling crepes. Johnny Keith is the man, the owner, runner of that food truck business. They're going all over the nation. And their first event, Doc, is the Berkeley Cruise Fest, where I used to live, and on August 19th. So in association, I believe, with that Woodward Dream Cruise going on at the same time.
Let me tell you something. I'm a connoisseur of crepes. Two kinds are my favorite, banana or the chocolate. You can't go wrong with those two. I can't eat them as much as I would like, but maybe one day, if he's around town, maybe we'll get him to stop his food truck right in front of the DSP studios, give him some business, maybe a free plug or two, but interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say and talking baseball with you, but I'm very interested. Did you stay up for Monday night's game? Started at 10:10. Kind of was pretty quick. It was a pretty fast-paced game. It was a little tough for me because Dan Dickerson and Gibby just were a little bit tough to listen to on the television side, but I powered through. Fulmer basically had one bad inning, and the offense didn't show up, and the Tigers lost the opening game of an important series, and it's going to be interesting to see because you got Norris going in Game 2, JV going in Game 3. You ideally would like to win 2 of 3 from Seattle, but it might not shake out that way.
Well, not now because you have Daniel Norris going Tuesday night in the place of Jordan Zimmerman. Now, Norris, what will you get out of him? He was stinky in AAA up until recently. So he's been hurt on and off the DL this year. Another injury flared up. Now he's back healthy, but what will we get out of him Tuesday night against the M's? That's a big question mark. And Fulmer allowed 2 runs, and it's a good stadium to pitch in. It's a pitcher's ballpark, Safeco Field in Seattle. So maybe Norris can allow 3-4 runs, but that means they have to bring out the bat still. They got to score, I think, tonight, which is now Tuesday, the day of this recording. They're playing the M's here with Norris on the mound. I think in Norris' start, Tuesday, they got to score 4 runs to win the ball game against the Mariners.
That is the key, but you have some injuries at key spots. Nick Castellanos is out. Cameron Maybin, a guy that may be underrated as a guy that's now no longer in the lineup because of an injury. And then a report came out on Tuesday that his hand's not really getting that much better. So we'll see what happens because he was a guy that was surprisingly an offensive weapon and a guy that, at home at least, was very dominant and a guy that would consistently put the ball in play. In terms of what Daniel Norris is going to do, I'm very fascinated to watch because if he can go out there and shut down Seattle, it's a good lineup for him to kind of go up against. One that, basically you got to worry about Nelson Cruz, who I think in a previous game, either last year or this year, tattooed Norris for a couple home runs. So it's going to be important to kind of work around the lineup and just stay away from Nelson Cruz. I think you have a chance to really have a strong chance of maybe getting the game, but before the game starts, I would pencil in as a loss.
But remember, they have Robinson Cano, too, all-star second baseman. So can hit for power, has this year, even in Safeco, which have dimensions of, far out there. So it's not easy to get one out at Safeco, but Nelson Cruz can do it, as you said. He's the biggest, most powerful hitter in that lineup, but they also have Kyle Seager, the brother of Corey Seager. Kyle's a freak, athletic freak himself, and a freak of nature as a baseball player. He really is. He's that all-around guy, can get it done with the bat, has done this year, has at least for 3 straight years, hit 20 home runs. I think maybe even 5, something like that, 3 to 5 years straight of hitting 20 home runs. So he can hit the long ball as well, along with Cano, Robbie Cano, don't you know? There in Seattle, him playing second base, and Nelson Cruz. So a lot of good sluggers actually there in the middle of that M's order that can hit the long ball. So if they do all that, get to Norris early, well, that's it for Norris and I believe the Tigers Tuesday night against the Mariners.
You give Daniel Norris a quality start? Tuesday?
Well, he's got to go 6, allow only 3 runs. I'm going to say he goes only 5, and that's part of my big Vito. Let's call this now Big Vito's over-under, as we have in the past for our over-under segment, Doc. And I will say, with that being said, I won't just stick with the 5. Okay, because I can't, right? Because we want to do over-under, unlike the Free Press guys that joined us a few weeks ago for an edition of Tigers Talk. So I'm going to say, actually, with that being said, I think 5, but as part of this segment, I'm going to say over, and I guess I'll give him 6, but not a quality start. Because I'll say then he'll give up 4 runs. So 6 innings, 4 earned runs. Doc, what do you think?
Well, Seattle, I think he's going to have an opportunity to get some outs. It's going to be very important to start. So I'm going to look for the first couple innings, does he have control? And then after that, I think once he settles in, then I do believe he could have some success. But my biggest fear with Daniel Norris is, can the dude stay healthy? It's a big question mark, and it's something that may preclude him from having a strong career with the Tigers, at least. He may go on and have success elsewhere, but if you can't get on the field, you can't help the ball club. And this is a guy that management has said, hey, we want to keep you over trading him for proven talent. So he's got to come out here and do some things. But I think he'll do okay. I'm hoping that he can step up his game, come back, and really relieve some of the pressure because, JV has been a guy that has carried this team a little bit in the last few weeks, and him going up against Felix Hernandez on Wednesday, you don't want to kind of maybe get in a situation where, like it's been in the past, where he pitches great and the offense doesn't give him any support. So I'm hoping on Tuesday, get out there, tie the series up, and let's see what happens because you might get swept by Seattle if you don't. So we'll see what happens.
The Seattle Mariners are coming on to the right point in time this season, just like the Tigers have. The Tigers have more in recent memory and have the better record. But the M's are no slouch because they have good pitching and those sluggers that I mentioned outside of Nelson Cruz, too. So 3, I think, formidable sluggers there in Cano, Seager, and Nelson Cruz. So I'm going to say this, too. If the Tigers don't get out to an early lead, I'm going to say the Tigers don't win Tuesday night. And the thing is, they got to score for JV, which they haven't done very often, right, this season, it seems like, at least in recent memory. And the bats didn't come out and support Michael Fulmer on Monday night. Where were they? They were MIA against Hisashi Iwakuma. Iwakuma can be a really good starting pitcher for the M's, but not getting a run off of him, that was the first time the Tigers went scoreless in a ball game since a month prior to that game Monday night. So July 8th, last time the Tigers did not score a run in a ball game. And then August 8th, Monday, August 8th, against Iwakuma. Iwakuma brought his A game and shut out the Tigers. Only 5 hits and 5 singles. All of the single variety, that means, against Iwakuma on Monday night. That wasn't good enough from the bats, and they got to score for Norris. Support him. And then Wednesday, they got to support JV. Thing is, will they, Doc, against King Felix, who you mentioned is on the mound, against JV on Wednesday?
It's very similar, eerily similar, how King Felix and JV have kind of shaken out this season. Although JV hasn't had a stint on the DL like King Felix has this year, King Felix is a guy that can dial it up and can do some things. I do feel like JV has an advantage right now in this matchup. He's pitching well. I don't know how he's going to perform Wednesday. I'm hoping that he gets off. Basically, with JV, you got to hope that he gets out of the first couple innings relatively unscathed. If he can do that, then you know he's going to settle in, dial it up a little bit, and he's been showing that he can use multiple pitches to get guys out, and it's good to see. He called it out and said, "Hey, if you doubt me, you're going to be wrong," and he's come out there and backed it up. So it's going to be very important that Daniel Norris and the Tigers get this win on Tuesday because you don't want to fall out too far, and you could catch them ground on Cleveland because they haven't been playing A-plus baseball lately. So it's an important series, and you got to remember, Texas is looming, a series versus Texas. So you don't want to go into a series having to win a lot of games when if you get swept by the Seattle Mariners. So I'm excited to see. I like the 10-10 starts. I do feel like I got the energy to stay up and watch, and I'm enjoying it. I am, though, a little bit disappointed right now in the fact that we do have some injuries that are affecting this team. I think the team was about to peak and even take off further, maybe go on another 8-game run where they could have did some damage. But Cameron Maybin's out, Nick Castellanos is out, and it was so unfortunate because you really can't control it. Castellanos has a broken hand from, the Mets series, and unfortunately now he's out expectedly about 4 to 7 weeks. You concerned at all? I mean, this was a guy that was having a really solid season and a guy that maybe could have been a solid contributor throughout this playoff push. You concerned at all that Nick Castellanos' injury and him being gone is going to derail his season and maybe hurt the Tigers?
Well, is his injury why they're not going to score runs now, starting with Monday night? Him being out and long-term, more than 4 weeks, will be catastrophic, I think, for the Tigers' chances of contending for a playoff spot, even for just one of the 2 wildcard spots, which is really what their aim first and foremost at this point should be, even though they're in the race more now for the AL Central, top of the division there, contending with the Indians, who have kind of been downtrodden, have slouched of late, and the Tigers have risen. But I'm hoping, as you said, they haven't peaked yet. I mean, they've had a great run here. They've gained all this ground on the Indians of late, but have they peaked? If they've peaked, you could say peaked at the wrong time, even though this is when you want to start playing well. You got to keep playing well. You can't peak at this point. And now, can we say that they're in the dirt, stuck in neutral because of the loss of Nick Castellanos? It might be that where they can't score runs as sufficiently. Now, if Miggy keeps it up, if V-Mark keeps it up, that probably won't be the case. But even with those guys keeping it up, I think it's paramount now more than ever before. Or maybe not more than ever before, because JD Martinez was on the DL too, and I thought Upton had a hit. But J-Up has to rise out of his long slumber now and hit the baseball consistently for the power, but also just hitting for average, getting more of those timely hits. With guys on base. Can he do that? Because Miggy, V-Mart have started to do that more and more. And V-Mart kind of already was throughout the season. Miggy wasn't there for a portion of it and has risen to the occasion now to produce in timely situations. Now it's on J-Up, Justin Upton as well, to get that done, because those small guys and Miggy can't just carry your offense the rest of the way this season, in my opinion. And the thing is, even if they get good starts out of Fulmer, Norris, Verlander going forward, they need to run support those guys, or they're not going to beat teams who have good pitching as well, and can score a little bit, like the M's, who can score now, like I said, and against the Rangers, who can score, at a prolific rate. That's one of the best offenses, if not the best offense now in baseball, with their additions of Beltran for the DH spot, with Lucroy, the all-star from the Brewers, for the catcher spot. They can mash. Even with Fielder now retiring, who even cares about that? You can just throw him to the side, as they are now doing with him moving on to his post-baseball career. But the Rangers, still, you look at them and you fear them. They're a fearsome 1 through 9 lineup, like almost none other in the American League, maybe outside of the Boston Red Sox. And when you rank AL lineups, Red Sox, then Tigers, or then Rangers, then Tigers. So that tells you right there the Rangers will be scoring, so you got to support those pitchers over the weekend against Tejas, or you're not going to beat Texas at all, which is very troublesome if you get swept here, or even lose 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. And going into that series, as you mentioned, Doc, already, having a win really 2 out of 3 then. It'd be paramount. If they lose 2 out of 3 or get swept, you got to win 2 out of 3 in Texas, a tough place to play. Maybe that'll wake up the bats, but I think it comes down to other guys just having to wake themselves up, such as Justin Upton now, more than ever before, who hit his best for a single month in July, hitting 278, I believe it was. But still, he's got to hit like 285, 290 for 1 month, to help carry the offense. And that's my opinion about the Tigers. They can get these good starting pitching performances, against Texas, but at some point, Texas is going to score runs. So that means Tigers have to retaliate, have to score runs themselves then as well. And will they do that enough this weekend to win 2 out of 3 in your opinion, Doc?
Yeah, the combination of Nick Castellanos, Cameron Maybin being out, and then you got Justin Upton, who's still kind of up and down, inconsistent, and you see it. You've said it exactly. The Tigers have to score 3 to 4 runs on average, give these guys run support. You've seen performances where Pelfrey's done a decent job. Sanchez did okay, didn't get a ton of run support. JV's had to experience it. And basically, if the Tigers don't score 3 to 4 runs, they're having a hard time. And I'm hoping it's not one of those things where, remember, the Tigers are around a 500 team where they go on hot streaks and they go on bad streaks. I'm hoping this is not the start of a bad streak, because it can, you definitely can lose 6 straight real quick. So I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping that the bats come around, and that's all you can do is hope, because you remember, you have V-Mart, you have Miggy, you have JD Martinez. You have guys out there that can do some damage. It's just they have to put it all together. McCann has been, up and down. Saltalamacchia has been placed in and out of the lineup. So you're going to have guys step it up and continue to get those hits in the absence of Nick Castellanos and Cameron Maybin. I don't think it's going to entirely derail the season. It's just one of those things where you got to work around it, and you have to hope that the team rallies around and plays a much better brand of baseball.
And Maybin's not out for the long term, but his injury could be lingering where it derails his production at the plate going forward. And he's that spark plug at the top of the lineup, along with Ian Kinsler, hitting leadoff, Maybin hitting second in that lineup, they need him. His bat is paramount. He has proven that consistently throughout the season at his high rate of production in terms of getting on base especially. So, and he's that stolen base threat like Iglesias when he gets on base. And like Kinsler is. Kinsler getting into position, scoring position on Friday night, helped the Tigers beat Thor. Noah Syndergaard. That's how they beat that guy Friday night against the Metropolitans at Comerica. So his production, getting on base, Maybin getting on base, those guys getting into scoring position is paramount. And now without Maybin maybe fully healthy, well, who are you going to rely on to do that? You know, if you don't have Maybin doing it, because Iglesias truly can't do it consistently. I like his bat, what he's done. You know, he's had an uptick in production of late, but him being that great two-hole hitter, not that they would have put him there if Maybin's still in the lineup, but it'd be more paramount than for guys like that to get on base. And the thing is, if Maybin continues, if he allows his injury to bother him continuously, then you might have to make that change in the lineup to put Iglesias at the two-hole and Maybin back down at the bottom of the lineup. So there's a potential lineup decision there to make for Brad Ausmus if struggles occur for Cameron Maybin because of that thumb injury. From what I've heard, it is that thumb. And like I said, that could be lingering. So it could be even more problematic than Nick Castellanos when he comes back from the DL, as long as Castellanos' DL stint isn't too prolonged. And really that means past 4 weeks, which is the safest right now measure of how long he will be out. And Doc, wanted to ask you too, with that being said, with Castellanos being hurt, Casey McGee at third base. What do you think about him and what he can do with the bat at third base in the place of Castellanos for the time being until Castellanos returns from the DL?
Well, I was looking him up because when we were prepping for this podcast, there's a journeyman, is a 33-year-old vet, and people were talking about, well, potentially you can go out and get A-Rod, who can fill the void. My nephew, and I talked about it on a previous podcast, he wants to move Miguel to third base because he's a proven commodity. He's like, well, just put Saltalamacchia at first and move Miggy to third. But Casey's had an interesting season in Toledo, above 300, lots of home runs, so he's going to be an interesting cat. His first game wasn't all that great, but he's going to have time now with obviously Nick Castellanos being gone for a month. I would say he's the next man up to do the job, and he's got to come out here and he's got to perform. Will he be able to hit home runs? Will he be able to hit above 300? Can't wait to see. You would think that he's going to relish this opportunity. I like it when guys get a chance to step up. I like to see if they take advantage of the opportunity. This is a guy that is looking to revive his career, has been bouncing around a little bit, and now he's with the Tigers organization, and he had a good start in AAA. So in 108 games, I think he batted over 300, 18 home runs, I believe, and so
has some pop there. Showed it off. Has had that in the past, but not consistently as a major leaguer. It's been a long time since he was really, really relevant. He flamed out there in Miami with the Marlins, wasn't good there. So he's been flip-flopping all over the place. Now we need his consistency, as a third baseman, which means him producing some pop. But how many home runs? And here's another big Vito's over-under edition, Doc, you and I on this episode of the podcast. And it is regarding how many home runs from Casey McGee going forward. Over or under 3 out of McGee. What do you think? In a month, which he has pretty much to play third base pretty darn consistently. Not every day, because they are going to give some at-bats there at third. Some starts and then at-bats to Romine, to Aviles at third. But McGee, if he produces, he should be the guy starting at third base because you want Romine and Aviles in those utility positions, and really Aviles in the bench position on a consistent everyday basis.
I'm going to go under. I'm going to go 2.
Okay. You can't be bold and say more than 3.
I'm going
under. It's a long span. It's a month. But guess what? I'm not going to be bold either. I just called you out for not being bold. But I'm going to say under as well. And I could see him getting like 3. I guess I could see him getting 4. But I could not see him, Doc. I'm going to say this right now. I don't see him, and I'm going to say he doesn't get to 5. Will not get to 5 home runs in this stint here with the Tigers. So has enough time to get to 5, but I don't think you can't rely upon that guy. He's been a minor leaguer. He's no longer the Casey McGee of old when he was relevant in the majors, Doc. And it brings up the point, a guy that used to be relevant as well. A future Hall of Famer, perhaps, who has used steroids. Big name, Alex Rodriguez. And as I like to call him, Doc, A-Royd. How about bringing A-Royd here? Announced his retirement on Sunday in a press conference there with the Yankees. And going to play his last game as a Yankee on Friday night. Doc, what do you think? Bring A-Royd, as I like to call him, to Motown, right?
Pass. No, of course not.
Hard pass, right? Hard pass for me too, Doc, by the way.
If the Yankees were willing to pay 18 of the $20 million salary he's owed, maybe you would consider it for the ticket value, but him getting to 700 home runs is not worth it. He's a below average player right now at this point in his career. I think he realizes that he doesn't have it anymore. He's going to play his last game Friday, and so be it. Go off and do management. Stay the Yankees' problem. We don't need that kind of problem.
Go off into the sunset, right? And never be heard from again. But people like him. His analysis, he might be on Fox. Was on Fox in the postseason last year. Fox wants to hire him again. So he might go into broadcasting, Doc. But go down that route. Don't play baseball again, okay? You're good at that. You're good at seeing talent, helping out young talent. Go mentor kids in spring training with the Yankees as that special advisor in that role that he is bound to serve in now with the Yankees going forward. Do that. Do broadcasting. Don't play baseball once again. That's what I think about A-Rod, and he won't be coming here, and I like that. I don't think he should because he can't even play the position. He's a DH now. He's 40-something. He's played 31 games at third base since 2013. So, he's going to come here and start at third base for a month even in the place of Castellanos. No way, Jose. I'm fine with waiting for Casty to get back from the DL and just using these guys who aren't the best, aren't the most reliable, and McGee and Romine and Aviles. But I think you got to just bite the bullet for the time being, Doc.
Maybe not the Tigers. Any team you think sign him?
I think Miami, a team like that, because he knows the area. I think Miami would think it's like a big PR splash for them, right? It would be a big PR thing for them. So they might consider signing him. But anybody else, why would you? You'd be crazy. You wouldn't be crazy totally. If you're going for the fact that he's going for the 700 home runs, 4 away from that, a team might give him the chance to get to number 700. That would be the only reason. And that would be a big-time PR play for any major league club. And that would be the only reason, too, in my opinion, to add A-Rod at this point, Doc.
Exactly. So let's pass on him. Let's hope McGee can do the job and that Nick Castellanos gets healed up because the range is 4 to 7 weeks.
I know.
We need it fast. We need a fast recovery. It was so unfortunate, the timing of it. But, hey, that's how it goes. That's how it shakes out. The Tigers are in the midst of a series versus Seattle, and we'll take a quick timeout, and we'll have your guest up next on the Tigers Talk podcast.
Yes, Johnny Keith will be joining me after this quick commercial break on Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. Vito Chirco here from Top Cat Sales in downtown Arroyo Oak, Michigan. Looking for team apparel for your high school, your club, sports team, or corporation? Then look no further than Top Cat Sales, located on the east side of Main Street, once again in downtown Arroyo Oak and between 11 and 12 Mile. Through founder and former University of Michigan quarterback John Wangler's leadership, Top Cat Sales has developed a tradition of selling and distributing custom Adidas team apparel with the very highest quality and the very best service. Get your organization, school, or club team all in with Adidas today by going online to TopCatTeamSales.com. Once again, the website is TopCatTeamSales.com. And remember to follow Top Cat Sales on Twitter at Team Top Cat. And now joining me on episode 52 of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company, courtesy of the Top Cat Sales phone line, is my buddy Johnny Keith, who is now...
Hello, Vito.
How are you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Hey, great to hear from you, and I am proud of what you're doing with Crepe de Trois. I love the name. Kind of want to pronounce it as Crepe de Trois. I love seeing that, love pronouncing it like that, Johnny. And it is, I just love everything about it right now, what you're doing, and wanted to first ask you, how did you get the idea for this?
So I was actually, I was working with a family member, and we were doing something downtown before, and they kind of came up with an idea, and I was working for somebody else and doing something that wasn't particularly fulfilling to me. So I kind of stepped away from it, went on a bit of a spiritual journey, and I went down to Nashville with a cousin of mine, and we worked on building a concession trailer. Originally, the idea started out as being like a barbecue pit. I can't even remember where it started, but it kind of ended in this thing where we're like, hey, you know what? I'm kind of familiar with the idea of crepes. I've made them before. I did them a little bit in a previous business, so I thought about all the French influence in the city of Detroit that's kind of ignored too, and that's how we came up with a little bit of the French part of it. But honestly, it's just been a fun process building a company. I do it so I can meet more people and talk to them about things that are important to me. So it's really just been an experience to grow and be fulfilled, and that's like the most important part of any business is that whoever you're reaching, you're sending a message to them, not just giving them a product and service and then sending them out the door, that you're really touching them and affecting their life. So that's been a cool part about Facebook Law. So thanks for following, man. I appreciate it.
So, Johnny, I read that it's a mobile food establishment that serves French crepes, as you were talking about, and in a commercial kitchen on wheels. So explain that part of it, the commercial kitchen part of it, and then how you had to travel all over the nation and get all the equipment, too, for it, to make it happen.
Yeah, so a lot of places will use like different building materials on the inside of their cart, and we just didn't spend any expense on the kitchen portion, so I'm extremely proud of all the equipment that went inside of it. We actually bought the original unit from a couple guys in Ohio that have been doing mobile food establishments for a long time. They went to fairs festivals all over the country. So we purchased an existing unit, and then we went and bought all the materials, brought that all back to Detroit, and let somebody, a member of the Road Devils, which is a car club in the city of Detroit. They have chapters all over the place. We let him work in on the interior of it, so just kind of gave him a dream. He really got into the project. We put stainless steel over the walls, aluminum tread plate on the floors, and we got all sorts of commercial-grade equipment on the inside of it, prep space, and we're ready to go, man. I think when people see the kitchen and they look at the decor, I mean, we have a 10-foot Eiffel Tower that goes on top of the business. At a fair or festival, you will absolutely see it wherever you're standing. It's beautiful. We found that locally in Berkeley, Michigan. And then we also fabricated a large sign that has 20-inch lettering that says Crepe de Trois, so you can see it from wherever you're at. And then outside of our business, we actually don't serve on we don't take orders on like a traditional iPad or POS system. We actually have like an old national cash register on a barrel that we kind of refurbished from a barn in Kentucky, and we just do things that we love. So that's the most important thing about this is some of it's not easy particularly. I wouldn't expect like a McDonald's or Chipotle to pick up a barrel every day and bring it out in front of their business, but that's what I love to do, so that's why I'm doing it.
It sounds like you have it all tricked out too.
Oh yeah, it's got all the bells and whistles. It's a very neat unit. I mean, some other places will put a lot of graphics on the front of their food truck or their food trailer, but for us, we wanted to kind of be minimalist about it and build it as it goes, like add things if you need something here. I have an aunt that always said to me, like, let your home speak to you or let your business speak to you over time and put things on it. So that's kind of what we're doing is we're starting off minimal, bare bones, but we do have some really nice, features that other things don't have. But yeah, we're just proud of what we built. That's all.
And Johnny, I love the Eiffel Tower touch too.
Oh yeah, the Eiffel Tower. I mean, that was an interesting story how we found that. It was actually owned by a business in Berkeley, Michigan, 12 Mile Road. Her name is Judy Moon. She owned a place called Salon Bliss, I think it was, and she's a really wonderful woman, and she after a long time parted with it. That's the only 10-foot steel Eiffel Tower that I could find in the entire country, and I went from Colorado to Nashville, Cleveland, all over the place in the journey of starting this business with my cousin and my fiance, and it's just I wasn't able to find anything like it. It's one of a kind. So we have a lot of items that are on the cart and featured with us that are like very impressive. When you see them, you go, oh, that's really unique.
So where did the very appropriate Crepe de Trois name come from, by the way?
Oh, Crepe de Trois actually came. So we wanted to keep our product in our name, and we were driving down to Nashville and talking about, like I said, all the French influence in the city of Detroit. So we're thinking it would be cool to put the name de Trois, which is the French pronunciation of Detroit, into the name. But we said if we just put Crepe de Trois, and you read it on a board and it said DETROIT, you would look at it and just say, especially if you weren't from Detroit, you would say Crepe Detroit. You wouldn't say Crepe de Trois. So we actually went to an art festival one day, and we saw somebody spell out something phonetically that said DAY-TWAH. And right there, we were like, oh, that's awesome. We can lead the horse to the water and make a drink, too. So, yeah, de Trois means straight, too, in French, so.
I love it. I love everything about it, like I said before, Johnny. And then you'll be at the 2016 Berkeley Cruise Fest on Friday, August 19th. Will you be there on the 20th as well, or just that Friday?
Just that Friday, yeah. We thought the event went for the 20th, but I spoke to the event coordinator. Just the 19th, and then we also will be at 2016 Crosswell Extravaganza in Romeo, and that's a part of the Peach Festival. We'll be participating in the Peach Festival on the 1st, 2nd, and then the 3rd, 4th, 5th will be right down the street at Romeo Community Schools parking lot, which takes place right next to the Peach Festival parade and all of that. And then from there on, I'll keep everyone posted through our website and our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
And then how can we find you on social media then, on Facebook, on Twitter, all of that, Johnny?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can actually go to our website, crepedetroit.com, and then if you scroll to the bottom, there'll be 3 live links of all of our accounts. You can click on them and follow us, follow our build from the very beginning and where we're going next. I sort of update all of the newest ventures of the company, whether it's a build or whether it's a new menu item or something like that. That'll all be uploaded there.
So what will you be offering then at the Berkeley Cruise Fest, at the Peach Festival, and all these upcoming events that you guys will be doing at or as part of Crepe des Trois?
Oh, man, we have some unbelievable recipes. One is the British are coming. I like that one. It comes from a recipe my brother made. It has clotted cream, fresh strawberries, a fresh strawberry sauce, and then the heavy whipped topping. It's a really good, and scone crumbles are inside that as well. And then we also have some savory crepes like this little piggy, which has arugula and spinach, prosciutto, melted Greek cheese, and pear slices. So we have a number of different options.
And then I think I read about Nutella being utilized in one of the crepes. Is that true as well? Because that's always a fan favorite for a lot of Italian people and just, hey, people in general, right? They like their Nutella.
Yeah, people, I don't know. It's almost like Nutella and crepes they become like the synonymous thing. But I really love the Nutella one we do. We put ground hazelnuts in it, which it's something as soon as you taste it, you go, that's really unique. I haven't had that before. So we might add a banana Foster's over time. But for now, I think we're going to do the banana slices, ground hazelnuts, and our Nutella topping. So, and
what's better than that mixed together? Bananas, peanut butter, Nutella. I love anything with peanut butter, anything with bananas. And you mentioned strawberries before for another one of the crepes. Those are all great recipes right there, man.
Well, yeah, we got to make something. We got to make something special for you. We'll call it the Vito.
Something Italian, right? Something that's Italian too. Has to be made if you call it the Vito.
Italian crepe. It's okay. The Vito Jerome.
There we go. There we go. I love that, Johnny. That'd be a great idea. And I will see you, by the way. I'm hoping at the Berkeley Cruise Fest. Hope everybody else shows up as well to support you. And that will be your first event as well, correct? The Cruise Fest.
That'll be our first event, our grand opening. If you want to stay tuned, we're going to post some sort of promotional thing over the next couple of days on our website and on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram about what we might do, being that it's our first event. So stay tuned to that, and keep following us and keep living your dreams. That's what I tell everyone out there who's thinking about owning a business or doing anything. You're not crazy. Go for it. It's worth your time to trust yourself and believe in yourself, because everything in my life got way better the moment I started doing that. So, yeah, if there's any young people out there listening, or anyone, any age, it doesn't matter. Just do what you want. That's the most important thing, just like Vito.
Johnny, I love that. And that's an inspirational message to anybody out there, like you said, of all ages. So I think people will appreciate hearing that from you, a guy who you've had your travels, you know stuff, you've learned some stuff throughout your years. So I think you do have some valuable lessons such as that one, Johnny, and I appreciate you sharing that. And a guy that might need, now really quick before I let you go, a guy that might need some inspiration now is Tim Tebow. Have you heard about him transitioning to play baseball? The former NFL quarterback is going to try out baseball now, which I know you played for a long, long time. You played it where we went to high school together at De La Salle High School in Warren, Michigan. And Tebow now is trying it out for the first time since his junior year of high school, Johnny.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
In the midst of starting a company, I haven't much time to follow any sports, but to be honest with you, it sounds like that's totally possible and achievable, and it doesn't sound out of the ordinary. I think there's been many talented multi-sport athletes, and he's probably capable of anything as long as he sets his mind to it, just like anyone else. So that's awesome. I love to hear that. Who's he playing for?
Well, he's going to try out now at the end of the month for all 30 Major League Baseball clubs. And the thing that I have a beef with regarding that is it seems like it's a sideshow for him, and that he's all about the exposure and all about the attention for himself. And it seems like to me that's why he's doing it. Even though his agent has said otherwise, I still believe that Tim Tebow in the back of his head is doing it for pretty much that sole purpose, Johnny. And that bothers me. And also, I view it as this, that he thinks baseball is easy to take on. And Johnny, you know yourself, it's not easy to start playing baseball, especially after being out of the game for so long as he has been since high school.
It is a sport that's kind of rooted in fundamentals, and once you get those fundamentals down, a lot of people try to pin that down from a young age. So that's why you see youth baseball growing so much, and you see, people trying to develop players when they're 13, 14 years old. But I have seen some people before take up sports when they're, well into high school and even in college, and flourishing just because of pure athleticism or just because they're extremely dedicated to what they're doing. So, I don't think it's totally out of the ordinary. Now, I do not like when people kind of, join the game of baseball and presume that it's easy, because it's not easy. There's a lot of hard work that goes into developing your skills, and it's not just one skill. I don't know what position he's thinking about playing, or if he's going to be pitching or he's going to be an infielder or something like that, but they call it the 5 tools, and I mean, you're not really on anyone's radar until you have all 5 of them. So yeah, it's not easy. If he's presuming that, then I would disagree with that.
Yeah, and you can be an athlete and still not be very good at baseball, because it is tough and tougher than a lot of people do presume. And Johnny, with that, I will let you go. Thank you very much for all your time today here on Tigers
Love
Talk.
you, man. Thank you for calling. Seriously, thanks for having us on. I really appreciate it. And hey to everyone out there, come out to the Berkeley Cruise Fest on the 19th. Come and see us, get Crepe, get a coffee. You'll love it. I guarantee it. Come see us.
And best of luck to you, Johnny, with Crepe de Trois. You have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And thanks to Johnny Keith from Crepe de Trois for joining us. He has an event August 19th in Berkeley as part of the Berkeley Cruise Fest. So appreciated the fact that he was able to join us today, Doc. Always a pleasure having him on and talking about, well, what he's doing. Always want to find out what he's doing, the latest and greatest regarding Johnny Keith. And Doc, moving on now to some Major League Baseball talk. And, you know, we talked about the Tigers already. We'll talk more about them. But the big news out there right now is that, well, 2 big headlines that have recently happened here before our recording. The first one that I want to talk about is Tim Tebow, former NFL quarterback, now trying to play baseball. And I have a beef with that. This guy is turning 29 in a month or something from now. And he's trying to now resurrect a baseball career that hasn't been alive for him since his junior year of high school, Doc. And now he thinks he's good enough, athletic enough to pick it up after all these years off of baseball to resume baseball activities and to do it at a high enough level to get noticed by Major League Baseball clubs and picked up by one of them to at least be a minor leaguer, which means he would get a tryout to prove himself then, first and foremost in the minors for a Major League Baseball club. Doc, I don't think he can pull it off at this point in his life. I think he's too old for it. And then anyways, you're in the minors for 2-3 years. You know, have to go through that as well before you even reach the majors. Well, he wants to commit himself to that. And I know he's a high-level competitor. He cares all about that kind of stuff. And that's why I think he loves athletics in general, because he wants to compete and compete at the highest level. So this is him trying to get a taste of competing at the highest level in baseball, where he hit 500. But back during his junior year, once again, of not college, of high school, Doc, a long time ago. And that's my beef with him, with anybody that thinks baseball is easy enough to pick up when you're later in life or at any point after not playing it for a while. Because guess what? It is not easy to pick up. I played it. Not that I'm the most athletically gifted, but the thing is, I still know that the pure fact is it's not easy. As easy as it looks on TV, it's not easy to hit a 95-mile-per-hour fastball or a 100-mile-per-hour fastball, which is what you see now at times out of relief pitchers like Aroldis Chapman, Doc.
Well, the key thing is that you can be taught to hit a fastball. The key will be, can he hit a curveball? Can he hit a slider? Can he react at a quick enough pace in order to be successful? So I doubt that's going to take place. He might get a stint with a team that's looking to make some press. But what he's doing is he's holding a tryout, and he's going to invite the teams to go check it out. So do your due diligence, go check it out and see what he's got. This is a guy that has a lot of money, and he wants to be a professional athlete, and he wants to see, hey, maybe I want to try this endeavor. And this is a guy that doesn't have any limits, really. I mean, when you're in a situation, when you were in the NFL, you're wise. He has the money. He's been an announcer now on the SEC network, I believe, and working with ESPN. This is a guy that's popular, and he's got competitive juices. Is he going to be successful? The odds are super long, but I'm not going to hate on him for trying. You go do your due diligence. You go check it out. Maybe at best he works his way up to a single-A club, maybe gets a couple hits, does some things, moves up to a double-A. But I would say the ceiling for this guy probably would be a triple-A, probably never be called up to the major leagues, in my opinion.
I think he only ends up lasting a year doing all this, too. It's so much of a toll on your body, physical toll, mental toll, that he has no idea about. Now, he has the idea of the physical toll because he's been a professional athlete, knows about athletics, knows what it takes to compete at the highest level in the NFL. It's not easy to play baseball, as Johnny Keith explained to us during his segment today on Tigers Talk. A great fella is Johnny Keith. And Tim Tebow, hey, he's a great fella. He's a Christian man, devout Christian, knows what it takes to play football, but playing baseball, Doc, is a different animal. And not that I know a ton from experience, but a guy like Johnny Keith definitely does. And he said it himself, Doc.
See, I disagree with you a little bit in that I don't believe it's a sideshow thing. You got to understand, as a competitor, it's hard to really turn that off. When I played tennis in high school, it took me about a year or two after I stopped playing to kind of miss it fully. You want to compete still. And why do you think, in any venture, I know as a podcaster, you'd be pretty upset, or you'd want to work harder if I told you your podcast was the worst one on the network, which it's not. So I would think that anybody that does something wants to be the best at it. And a guy like Tim Tebow has means. He can train. He's a natural athlete. I think it's just hard to put that athlete, that competitive drive down, and especially in the way that he was kind of treated. Remember his career. He was a guy that won a playoff game. He was a guy that maybe wasn't given that chance and support. People say, well, he couldn't throw the football. Well, maybe, he wasn't going to be the top 15 or top 20, but don't you think maybe potentially after what he did, he could have been maybe slotted, maybe an NFL starting quarterback, or at least a backup? I would say that maybe he shouldn't have been on the field, but, there's roughly, 90 spots available for quarterbacks. You don't think he could be 89th, 90th spot, last quarterback on a team? He could have developed that arm as, on a team, but he wasn't given that chance, and he was cut, and the reputation that he had was he couldn't throw the football. But it was so weird because he was a leader, and he just didn't have the football intangibles that these general managers wanted, and he was let go. So I know he's got a feeling in the inside, a burning desire that he was robbed. And so maybe this tryout will be it, and he doesn't get picked up, or all it takes is one phone call. You get yourself in the minor league system, and your story's off and running. It's all you need.
Doc, as you said, he's a true leader, the true definition of it. And he also is a guy that I believe has a burning passion inside of him for competition at the highest level and in athletics at the highest level. Thing is, baseball's not easy once again. Playing to that once again is what I'm going to. And, well, also, you brought it up yourself, and I believe that everybody else pretty much believes it too, that has watched him throw a football. He can't throw it that well, right? So can he throw a baseball, Doc? Much smaller, but can he throw a baseball? He couldn't throw a football to save his life a lot of times at the quarterback position of all positions in the NFL, where you have to be able to throw the football too consistently and or efficiently. He never could cut the mustard seed. And the thing is, I don't think he wanted to be that reserve quarterback. He wanted to be a starter because he had that burning passion inside of him to compete at the highest level, at the toughest position in all of football, where he succeeded, exceeded expectations in college at Florida. He was the man, the mythical figure at Florida, right? He could do no wrong, and even couldn't do any wrong, well, in the eyes of Skip Bayless at least. And this is perfect timing, by the way, for Skip, who's now getting a new show at Fox Sports 1. Isn't that perfect timing? He can go all Tebow mania and crazy once again over his man, Tim Tebow. So, you know what, I believe that Tebow is doing this as a sideshow, and I still want to see where his baseball intangibles are at this point, which I guess all 30 Major League Baseball clubs, or as many that want to show up, we'll see by the end of the month or next month, and then they'll determine at that point whether or not he has what it takes to make it. And as you said, it takes one ball club, though. That's all it takes, right? To get noticed, to get the opportunity you need to show that you are worth it. So I think he'll get that as well, Doc, from one team. I just don't see him lasting past a year or a year and a half of just being in the minors, where you have to start off. He's not going to reach the majors right away. So if he has the aspirations for that to happen within a year, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen within 2 years, more than likely. It will take 3 years. And you saw Michael Jordan try it out with the White Sox in their minor league system. Did he ever make the cut? And his problem was not that he wasn't a huge athletic specimen, which is Tebow's problem. You don't look at Tebow and think to yourself, well, that guy can play any sport that he tries to play. That's just my viewpoint on it, Doc. I don't see him lasting, and also, as I said, because he's not that huge athletic specimen that makes you jump out of your seat when you see him play. Well, when you see him play football, definitely that's not the case. And I think he reached his peak. He peaked out in college. That's the best Tim Tebow was ever going to be in football. So him continuing to have that dream, it had to die out at some point. So luckily it died out. Thing is, now him trying for this baseball dream, I think it's going to die out sooner than he would like that to die out as well, Doc.
Okay, we can agree to disagree. I think he's got a strong chance of at least maybe signing out with one club. I don't think...
Well, strong chance of maybe? You can't use maybe. I'll say this, a strong chance as well of signing with somebody, because it only takes that one team, as you perfectly said. And I could see a team like Miami, who needs some good PR. Maybe not as much now, they're winning, and they could be a playoff team this year under Don Mattingly's leadership, his first year there in Miami. Thing is, though, they still might be that ball club or another ball club and might take that chance on Tebow because it's a strong PR movement for their franchise. Because, the eyes of the fans will be all over Tim Tebow and what he's doing every single second while he is wearing that club's respective uniform, even at the minor league level. And you got to believe this much too, Doc. FS1, ESPN, all the media outlets, guess what? Will be there to cover Tim Tebow in his first appearance in a minor league baseball game. No doubt about that. And really quick to wrap up this conversation, I saw a funny tweet directed in our direction about Tim Tebow and whether or not he should be picked up by the Tigers or another major league club. And Steve Cementi brought up, well, will the Tigers give him a chance? That was a good question, but one that will be answered this way by me. No way, Jose, Steve. Sorry about that. That dream has already died. Tigers will not be picking him up. And if they do, I will lose my cool. Okay? I will lose my cool big time and maybe even start crying, Doc. I might start crying if they pick up Tim Tebow. Because I think Timmy Tebow is no longer going to be a professional athlete in anything. Maybe you can try out bobsledding. Maybe you can do that and make the Olympics one year, just like Herschel Walker did. So maybe Tim Tebow can do that. But anyways, the scenario was brought up of the Utica Unicorns, or one of those United Shore Professional Baseball League teams picking him up. And there could be then the Utica Unicorns. There's 3 teams in that developmental league. And, well, that might be the best opportunity for Tim Tebow. That might be the best thing that he will ever be able to attain playing baseball. Or, in other words, the highest level that he could reach is probably that developmental baseball, where he could be the star of the show. They could run him out there every single day and sell out left and right at Jimmy John's Field. There would be standing room only, and maybe not even that at Jimmy John's Field if they signed Tim Tebow. Not that Tim Tebow will seep that low, and no offense to the United Shore Professional Baseball League, but that would be Tim Tebow seeping very low to play in that developmental league, which he will not be playing in. But that's his worth. That's how good I view him as, Doc. A guy that can play in developmental baseball, but nowhere past, I would say nowhere past single or double A. And I'll say nowhere past double A to give him the benefit of the doubt because of what he was at one point. But remember, that was a long time ago, dating back to his high school days. And to him, not even as a senior, but instead as a junior in high school in the state of Florida, Doc.
All right, Vito, let's move this podcast along. I know you got a big Vito's over and under to get to. Let's have at it. What do you got for us today?
We've got trivia as well. Todd Jones trivia to start off, Doc. And my question for you today with Todd Jones. Now, you remember Todd, right? Mm-hmm. Roller coaster Todd Jones, as he was every single ninth inning for the Tigers. In 2 stints, from 97 to the midway point about in 01, and then from 06 through 08. We all remember him mostly because of, 2000, where he was the AL saves leader with 42, and the Tigers franchise leader for saves in a single season until Jose Valverde broke that record open in, I believe, 2011 with 49 of his own saves for the Tigers. So, reflecting now on Todd, and how many saves, Doc, did Jones record during a 16-season big league career? That's my first trivia question for you today, Doc, regarding Todd Jones.
Okay, so he was, let's see, how long did he play for? I believe from around 93 to 2008 or so.
08 was his last year, correct.
93, 15 years or so. Okay, let me say 300 saves. Exactly.
Over, actually. So he did very well. 319. So he blew then, if you look at it this way, he blew 75 saves in his career, had 394 save opportunities. That's good for an efficiency rate, Doc, of 81%. That's a really good save percentage, huh?
I think the Tigers fans remember him for some of the roller coaster stuff that he would go through. He was just a guy that was efficient. You know, he was the closer of the 2016.
He was.
And but as his career progressed, he did kind of, slide off a little bit and became a little bit more of a guy that was a little bit inconsistent. But hey, give him his credit. He's not the saves leader right now for the Tigers.
He is a saves leader for the Tigers. He is at this point. And by a wide margin. Mike Henneman was the guy who closed out games there at one point for the Tigers back before my time, Doc. So, didn't know much about him, but he had the saves lead for a while until Todd Jones rose to the occasion and was that good, consistent guy. Now, not getting it done 1, 2, 3 in that style very often, but 319 saves to his name. So, and then he got a lot of those, obviously, with the Tigers, Doc. And now, what was his save percentage with the Tigers?
Let's say 68%.
Higher. Come on, my man.
Oh,
had an 81% save percentage in his Major League Baseball career as a total.
Overall, okay.
So now with the Tigers, where he had his best success, think about it.
So then I'll go 94%.
Not as high. Now we got to meet in the middle here.
So
80 what?
84%.
Almost. 86%
Not
for
bad.
Todd Jones as
well,
a Tigers closer. Not bad at all. Some guys can barely even get to 80. And then getting to 90 is like a superb rate. So very good for Todd Jones in his baseball career and in his Tigers career as well, Doc, to sum it up there.
Yeah, and the Tigers are doing a great thing this year. They're bringing back a lot of the guys from the 2006 season, and we got to see him a little bit. Threw out the first pitch to Brad Ausmus.
He did.
He's doing his thing, and there was a little bit of sarcasm with our fans on Twitter, and myself included, in that now we know why there's so many bullpen problems, because Todd Jones is now...
Yeah.
He came out and said that, hey, when he was being interviewed, I think it was in the television booth, they were saying, hey, what are you up to, da-da-da. He said, listen, basically the Tigers created a job for him knowing that there was a need, that he's a coach in the bullpen in the minors. And so everyone on our Twitter page, and myself included, said, now we know the root of the bullpen problem. Todd Jones is in the minors working with these kids. So when there's all the struggles, who do you blame? Todd Jones, obviously.
The funny thing is, though, a lot of those guys are flamethrowers, or throw a lot harder than Todd Jones ever could. Low 90s was his fastball on average there in his Major League Baseball career. And guess what? He was a first-rounder at one point, so still, he was projected high, getting drafted in the first round by the Houston Astros. So he was highly projected to be something special at one point back and way back there, Doc. And now moving on. The trivia question number 2, more relevant to all Major League Baseball fans, and that is because it's about Ichiro Suzuki, the newest member of the 3,000 hit club and member number 30. How perfect was that for Ichiro? And he got hit number 3,000 via what route, Doc? Did you see how he got it done on Sunday?
Triple.
Through the triple variety. You were right with that. Now, my trivia question for you is a harder one. You might know it, but the question is, who else has gotten hit number 3,000, Doc, in their Major League Baseball career via the triple variety? And this guy is a current MLB manager. And you might have looked it up. I gave you the heads up about this ahead of time.
I did not look it up.
Okay.
I say with a smirk on my face, I did not look it up. Because
Okay.
I was a Paul Molitor fan in his career.
Okay.
I was a fan. I have his baseball card in my shoebox. He was an interesting kind of player in that he was an efficient hitter, and he was a solid guy with the Twins. And I was a big fan of the Minnesota Twins when the Tigers were facing them in the early 80s and in 1987.
Yep. You rooted for the Twins against the Tigers?
No.
You couldn't have done that. Okay.
And Kirby Puckett was a player that you gravitated towards, and you knew Jack Morris pitched for them. So Paul Molitor was a guy that I kind of followed. So he is the guy. He is the only other player besides Ichiro Suzuki to have their 3,000th hit be a triple.
I can't believe you nailed it, and I almost believe that you looked it up to find out that you were right. I feel like you knew it was right, but yes, you are. You nailed it on the head. Congratulations to you, Doc. You don't get many trivia questions here right, but I did give you the heads up, so I still don't know about the validity of it. I got to take your word. You are the podfather of this Detroit Sports Podcast Network, too, at the same time.
Yes, sir. We'll leave it at that.
We will. And moving on now to something else. It was a tweet from a guest of this podcast in the past, the Detroit News' Lynn Henning. And I don't know if you saw the tweet. It was tweeted out on Sunday, as I said, and it quoted Doc Brad Ausmus talking about bullpen stability for the Tigers. And the quote was about how the stability begins with Francisco Rodriguez cementing the ninth. And Bradley, as I like to call him, Bradley referred to it as the trickle-down Frankenomics, not the trickle-down economics, but the trickle-down Frankenomics, Doc. I like that saying. It was very catchy. And then my question for you now, with that being said, I hope you listen very thoroughly to this question, or what I just said before this question. And, Doc, the question is, do you think Ausmus is correct in asserting that the amount of pen stability starts with K-Rod in the ninth?
Makes sense. K-Rod has been a really solid performer this year. And so it goes that if he's not doing well, he's the leader of the bunch. So I agree with everything that Brad Ausmus said. Again, though, a frustrating thing that we continue to see is Brad Ausmus tried to sneak Mark Lowe in that first game versus the Mariners when you needed him to not give up a run. It wasn't likely the Tigers were going to come back anyway, but you needed the bullpen to not give up a run. You sneak Mark Lowe in there, he gives up a run, another performance where he doesn't do his job. K-Rod also had kind of his not the best weekend that he ever had, but I do believe he'll turn it around. I just want Brad Ausmus to use him in a much more efficient manner. In that if he's struggling, why do you throw him out there 3 days consecutively in a row? When he's on fire or he's got a lot of rest, why do you not use him for a 4-out save? So it's just kind of interesting in the way they've used him recently, but K-Rod's doesn't. Right now, K-Rod has a lot of trust with a lot of fans, and myself included, and I think he'll do the job. The rest of the bullpen, you got to find, other leaders besides Shane Green. That's it. You got to find someone, whether it be Anibal Sanchez, whether it be Kyle Ryan, whether it be, some people that they bring up from the minor leagues, whether it is Jimenez, if they do bring him up, they got to find one or two more leaders and guys that you can count on. Rondon's now away on a, family leave. And so you need to trust more people. And that's all I'll say about that.
See, Doc, I'm under the presumption that they have to stabilize the middle innings to get to K-Rod. As you're already pinpointing with Shane Green being the man and the only man there that you can rely upon, right, in the middle innings right now. In that 7th inning, 8th inning role, and Justin Wilson has been pretty darn good himself, remember, too. Jay Wilson and Shane Green. Outside of that, I don't know who you have to rely upon, especially when K-Rod is not getting it done in the 9th inning. So for me, that's a worrisome factor with K-Rod. And remember, them throwing out Mark Lowe in the 8th inning Monday night against the Mariners, well, it was already 2-0. They didn't score a run either. They lost 3-0 in that ball game Monday night. So it's not on Mark Lowe totally, because you got to score runs, right, to win a ball game. So I can't totally blame or fault Brett Ausmus or Mark Lowe for not getting it done in the 8th inning Monday night against the Mariners. And now speaking once again of K-Rod, now another part of Big Vito's over-under for this week's podcast, and it is for you, Doc. How many more saves for K-Rod? And the over-under, I will started at 8. Over under 8 saves out of K-Rod the rest of the way this season.
Over. I do believe he's got, around 30, 31 saves at this point in time?
32. 32? When I last looked. Yep.
Okay, so I do believe he'll get 8 more. I believe he'll finish around 45 saves. He'll have a solid 2 months. He'll have 1 or 2 more blown saves, a couple shaky performances, but what we need is for him to be rounding into form around the time the postseason starts.
How confident, though, are you in saying that? You're saying 45? Is that your bet right now? And then how confident are you in saying that he will get 45 saves this season?
I am, it's going to take maybe.
So now you're not that confident. Now are you going to take that back?
If you ask me my confidence.
Yeah, is it
40. My confidence number is 40. Okay. 45 might be his peak.
Okay.
If everything goes well.
If he gets to 45, man, I will do something for you. Whatever you want me to do, we can make a bet right now. Maybe another Tim Hortons ice cappuccino bet. If he gets to 45, I will pay up and give you an ice cap. Is that fair enough?
Fair enough. Deal.
Moving on now to another big point of discussion regarding the Tigers right now, and it is Jordan Zimmermann. We saw him stink it up last Thursday in that start, his first off the DL, now back on the DL, Doc. How worrisome for you was that first start off the disabled list? And now that he's back on the DL, as I said, what do you think is reasonable to expect from him going forward?
That's a great question. The injury that he got, it's a tough one. I hope that the Tigers didn't ruin him by sending him out that extra inning there in the second when he came back. The whole ordeal is very challenging to think about. I just hope he comes back, and by the time the postseason hits, he is rounding into form, because that's when we need him. Right now, we're 10 games above 500. We are in a series versus Seattle, about to hit a series versus Texas. So I do believe that he's got to come back and stay healthy, and he's got to be an important force if we're going to have any success in the postseason. Right now, I kind of got a vibe that the Tigers are kind of just hoping to get into the postseason, and they'll go from there. I don't have any hope. I don't have any hope that they're going to have success in the postseason, and it's going to count on him to come back. So it's going to be important to see when he does come back what he can do.
And then he re-aggravated his neck injury, Doc, of all things. So, I mean, now we got this. Everything's piled up on him, to this point. He's not getting any younger. He has had Tommy John surgery before, has gone through numerous injuries, and getting back now from this that has been re-aggravated. That concerns me, Doc, down the stretch, because they need his steady production at that number 3 spot in the Tigers' rotation every 5th day, in my opinion, to make a postseason, to get into the postseason and to make any kind of a postseason run. So if they don't get him back, I think it's catastrophic to the extent where they're not going to reach the playoffs now, Doc. And what's your take on that? If he's out for an extended period of time and doesn't get back until, let's say, until the beginning of next month, so the beginning of September, does that knock the Tigers out from playoff contention?
No, because Cleveland hasn't been playing that well. So we got 7 games versus them. There'll be key games. You go 4-3. You're going to have to go probably at least 5-2 versus them, and you still have a chance to do it. You haven't played them yet now post All-Star break, so let's see what happens.
Okay, so to our Buster of the Week and Toast of the Town, Doc, I will have you start first. Who is your Toast of the Town for this week?
My Toast of the Town, I'm going to give it to Michael Fulmer. You know why? Because it's not only how you perform when you're on top, it's how you perform when you're struggling. And the first game versus Seattle, he was, off a little bit. He admittedly said that he wasn't exactly hitting his spots. But if a bad performance is giving up 2 runs, and it looks dominant when he gives up those runs, then, he's got the ability to bounce back. You know what? Michael Fulmer, toast of the town, because this guy continues to be a leader, and he goes out there and gives you quality innings, and if he makes mistakes, his mistakes aren't 6-run innings. His mistakes are a couple hits, 2 runs, and you still are hopeful that when he's out there, he gives you a chance to win. And so I'm hoping that he continues to his performance as a rookie. Right now, his stats as a rookie are really impressive, and he's earned his, I'm not sure if I've given a toast of the town before, but he's now...
You probably have. I don't even know myself, and we should keep track of this. We haven't even done that, Doc. How bad are we?
We should do that now going forward. Michael Fulmer, toast of the town for this week, gets to sit next to the Doc, meets him again for the second time.
How entertaining is that, right?
Good stuff.
What an honor. But how about another guy getting the honor? How about Anibal Sanchez? Through 8 innings Sunday.
Nope.
Looked very sharp. He's had a recent surge. You don't want the guy to sit.
Didn't win.
Right? No? He can sit right next to you.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No consideration either. Tell me that.
No consideration. I like Michael Fulmer. I want to hang out with him.
Is the Sanchez back, though, Doc? With this recent surge?
No.
You don't think he is?
No. He's playing against teams that are less than par. Against a real offensive team, he will get dominated.
Fair enough, because look at what he's done recently, who he's faced, right? The Mets Sunday, the White Sox before that. Those teams aren't too intimidating when you look at their lineup 1 through 9. And with Cespedes out for the Mets, Tigers faced the Mets with Cespedes out of their lineup. So that's a big loss for them whenever you play the Mets, Doc, to say the least. And now, looking ahead to matchups now, Wednesday night's pitching matchup, which we already kind of mentioned, King Felix or JV, really quick, once again, who do you got in that matchup Wednesday?
JV, he's going to do the job. He's going to give up 1 or 2 runs early. He'll settle in. The Tigers will get a nice home run, maybe from McGee, maybe from Miguel, and they'll do the damage. They'll win the game. He'll give up 1 or 2 runs, and that'll be it. He'll shut it down. He'll get into his groove. The Tigers will win. They'll lose with Norris on Tuesday. They will win the series finale with a strong quality performance by JV 4-2.
I think JV will go 8, and I think they'll get it done too, salvaging a game in the 3-game set against the M's in Seattle. Now looking ahead to another AL West ball club in Texas. On the road at Texas in Arlington there. Who do you got in that series? Or I should ask you this way. How many games do the Tigers get, if any?
1. I got them going 1 and 2.
So 2 wins on this road trip for the Tigers against the M's and then the Rangers. Only 2 wins for you is what you're looking for.
All right, Vito, you're exactly right. I think 1 win versus Seattle and JV and 1 win versus the Rangers this weekend. And so I think they'll be hobbling a little bit, but they'll recover. You
know what's sad? I'm the optimistic guy of this podcast, and I only see a win against Tejas too right now because Texas is riding high. And guess what? They have a great lineup. Hard to get through that lineup. And if the Tigers aren't hitting, well, they're going to get just bombarded. And the Tigers might look really bad against Texas then. So I hope that doesn't occur, trust me. But I only see at this point, too, a win in each series, which means Tigers will be going on this road trip here against the M's, against the Rangers. That's 2 wins and 4 losses, 2 and 4 in 6 games. That's not quality baseball when you're in right now in contention for something. You're in contention for at least a wild card spot. And going 2 and 4 against the Mariners and Rangers and doing that poorly against the Mariners gets the M's back in true contention, too, as they're coming on right now, and they're in the hunt for that wild card spot that the Tigers desire as well at this point, Doc. So would not be pretty for the Tigers if that does occur.
Hey, let's hope we're wrong. Let's hope Norris comes out and dominates. Maybe JV will dominate, and maybe they'll go out there versus Texas and put it to them. We'll see.
Best case, I think Norris surprises. They win that game Tuesday night, and that the bats come out against Texas over the weekend. Doc, with that, thank you very much for all your time today on the podcast, and to our guest, Johnny Keith. And we have another recording of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And thanks to our applicant last week, I didn't even give her a shout out. Her name
really good,
wasn't it? It was very good. Rebecca Keene, who I met on my last spring break trip. And now she sent in this entry. It was very good. Was really standoutish, in my opinion. Her Take Me Out to the Ball Game entry. So thank you very much to her and to Isis as well. Isis has an entry for us at the end of this week's edition of the podcast. Thank you very much to everybody once again, and have a great week until we talk to you again for episode 53 of Tigers Talk. Goodbye.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks.